How's this for a voice reveal? So yeah, microphone. This has been something on my mind for a while. I mean, I've always wanted to do reviews of some of the cartoons I love. This seems like a good way to do it. Compared to my corner videos, this is where I'll go more in-depth in subjects, stuff that I can only use my voice for. Matter of fact, I don't even know if I want to continue my corner anymore. I've kind of hit a rut, and I think I'm just going around in circles at this point. Well, I'm not going to waste any more of your time of an introduction, so let's get started. Nano of the North is part of the 4th season of the Powerpuff Girls. And that's all anyone can agree on as to where it's supposed to be placed. Because of the massive marketing push Cartoon Network was doing for the big movie coming up, only some episodes of Season 4 were aired in 2001. The other half of the season was starting to air on Kids WB in 2002. But this is the first episode to debut on Kids WB rather than Cartoon Network. That would release on August 9th. I suspect that this episode was originally going to air in October of 2001. The Powerpuff Girls weekly list has the air date in the Australian territories, and given that the rest of Season 4 only has one air date listed, it might have originally been intended to release on that day before plans changed for the movie. Then there's its numerical placement in this season, which is also odd. For the longest time, this was known as the 8th episode of the 4th season, but HBO Max used to list this as episode 7. I had to go back and check, but Zaslav in his infinite wisdom decided to take the series down on its 25th anniversary. Yeah, nobody can agree where this is supposed to go. It may seem like I'm taking a long time to get to a simple point. That's only because the episode does. Basically, the plot of this episode is, a huge storm cloud floats over Townsville. The raindrops in the storm cloud are in fact tiny robots that destroy everything. The girls shrink down to the size of the robots and defeat them all. The end. Now, 2-part episodes in the Powerpuff Girls usually follow the formula of setup and payoff. In the Rounder of Boys, the first part of the episode was dedicated to showing how the boys are created. The second part showcases the battle between them and the girls. Uh-Oh Dynamo's first act is dedicated to why the dynamo is needed, while the second act showcases it in battle. Crisscross Crisis focuses on the out-of-body hijinks, while the second half focuses on the battle with Mojo. And on the surface, Nano of the North follows the same formula. The first half is dedicated to showing why the girls need to shrink to defeat the nanobots, while the second half focuses on the actual battle with the nanobots. Pretty simple, right? Well, the strength of these 2-parters often focuses on the set pieces that the episode can provide, especially in part 2 where the set pieces come to define the episode. This is where Nano of the North misses its mark. With the exception of the Monobot and maybe the ending of the battle, Part 2 is mostly devoid of any memorable moments to set it apart from any of the other 2-part episodes. This problem permeates throughout Season 4, as all of its episodes are 2-part episodes. But while they're able to replicate the structure of a good 2-part episode, they don't do well when it comes to providing memorable moments. Ironically, the first half happens to contain many of the most memorable moments of the entire episode. I think it's cute that the Powerpuff Girls are watching Pony Puff Princess on television, for one, and that jar with the holes in it is easily the most memorable gag of the entire episode. But unfortunately, there's a really big pacing problem at the very beginning of the episode. The extended introduction of Townsville serves no purpose to the plot and only exists to pad the episode out to a 2-parter. We don't see any of the places that are mentioned get destroyed, and we don't see any of the people it mentions ever again. Because of this overly long introduction, the episode cannot focus most of its time where it needs to. We don't even know where the nanobots came from, who created them, why have they gone amok. There's not even a throwaway line from the professor about them like getting caught up in the water cycle or something. They have the same characterization of the titular monster from Three Girls and a Monster, but without any of the things that make that episode interesting. Heck, the obvious joke is obvious. Maybe this episode should have gotten shrunken down. Still, there are some memorable things to talk about in a good way. For example, I love how this episode uses the professor. His scientific expertise really gets to help out with this episode's theme, and he works really well in this function of mission control. And even though he has no powers, he still manages to go out into the field, save people, and even save the day. It would seem that he's finally found his niche in crime fighting, even if he's not quite a power prof. So, under normal circumstances, that would be the end, but there's still a lot more to cover. For example, there's actually a music video that uses footage directly from this episode to tell its story. That music video, Sugar Babes, Angels with Dirty Faces, tells the story of Nana of the North in approximately 4 minutes or so. There are some changes made to the story, some cuts here and there, necessary cuts. But the nature of these cuts makes me wonder which came first, the episode or the music video. Okay, it's definitely the episode. So, what else is there to talk about? Okay, let's play for real now. So in order to properly articulate my feelings regarding a certain portion of this episode, I need to recount a story from my own childhood. My last Powerpuff Girls episode that I watched was Get Back JoJo. I mean, yes, I'd seen the movie, but that was about it for me with regards to the Powerpuff Girls. I didn't catch any of the new episodes. Then there was a sudden marathon on Cartoon Network during my late childhood. There were plenty of episodes I hadn't seen before, but only one really stood out to me. It was this one. See, I mentioned the nanobots destroy everything they get their hands on. Well, the first sign that this happens is when the professor's lab coat starts to disintegrate. This is a relatively consistent theme throughout the episode. The nanobots destroy anything inorganic. Well, technically they say anything made of carbon, but let's be real here, people are carbon-based life forms. So when I saw the girls fly out to try and stop the nanobots without shrinking, I was like, wait a minute, they wouldn't go for that gag, would they? Well, they did. And my younger self was blown away. The funny thing is, this shouldn't have been seen as odd to me. I've grown up on the Fox dub of My Neighbor Totoro as well. I mean, heck, there was an earlier episode, Down and Dirty, that arguably showed more than this. But this scene seems to stand out for a lot of people, myself included. I mean, geez, my first video on the subject is easily the most popular video of my channel. But since that time, I've received a lot of comments on that video, and I feel like I'd like to address some of the points that other people have made about it. So, as I said before, my younger self was blown away by this moment. But now I start to wonder if this scene should have maybe shown just a little bit more. I mean, there's only so much one can show in a show for children, but if this is okay, why isn't this? And if this is okay, why isn't this? Oftentimes, the most common counterargument against my position often comes down to this point. The female body is inherently sexual. So to show a child in this way would be sexualizing a child. Okay, first off, that's a societal construct. Ancient Western society was developed by men, so naturally they would do things to glorify men and make women into the object, at least if there is this patriarchy. It's the reason why our current matriarchy has all these films designed to glorify women and treat men as the object. Me, I just want equal opportunity for everyone, and yes, that includes the opportunity to fail and be humiliated. Besides, wasn't there a whole episode about how giving women special treatment was just as bad? Occasionally this argument takes the form of, well, other people may have bad thoughts, so you shouldn't do it in the first place. But as I've said before, people will develop attraction to just about anything and everything. One need only go on DeviantArt to see how nothing is sacred. Besides, where were you guys when all these boys were humiliated like that? Now am I done? Guess so. So that's Nano of the North for you. I wouldn't call it a diamond in the rough, more like a cubic zirconium with little flakes of diamond on it. Thanks for listening to me ramble. I really hope you enjoyed it. As always, comment if you think you have something to say or you have any suggestions you want to make to me. I'll see you next one ever.